Happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thank you all for being part of this special day here at St. Gregory's. We are truly thankful and feel blessed for the presence of each and every one of you. Some of you, maybe a bunch of you, know by now that I am an avid hiker. Don't get to do as much as I'd like to, but I love going on a good hike. And I want to tell you about how that all started. Back in high school, I was a member of the Junior Reserve Officer Training Corps at my high school, JROTC. My hair was a lot shorter. My clothes were not nearly as fancy. As part of being part of JROTC, one summer there was a trip, a hiking trip, on the Appalachian Trail in northern Georgia. It was a fantastic experience, and that whole trip made me fall in love with hiking and with being out in nature. But it had been a particularly dry winter and early spring in northern Georgia that year. And as we continued our hike and got higher into the mountains, it was getting harder and harder to find water to drink. It was a week-long hike. We couldn't carry all of our water with us. We had to find water in streams in the mountains. We even found this PVC pipe one time in order to stick into a stream to get a consistent flow out of it. It was starting to get a little desperate. And yet, I wasn't that worried because we were kids and there were adults with us, and the adults must have known what to do. So one afternoon, we stopped hiking early, and our chaperone, retired Army colonel, comes over to my squad, group of about 4 guys, and says, "Get your tents up fast, I have a mission for you." So we do that, we come back to him, and what do you think he tells us our mission is?
Find water.
You gotta find us some water. This entire time, I had assumed that the adults had some sort of backup plan, right? Turns out we were the backup plan. Folks, I hate to tell you this, on Easter Sunday of all Sundays, but Jesus is not magic. Easter does not solve all of the world's problems. On Easter, we, again, are the backup plan. In the resurrection, in the crucifixion, suffering of Jesus, and his rising to life again, God shows us that there is absolutely nothing that we can do that will ever diminish or not be overcome by the life and the love of God. And then, on Easter Sunday, the question comes back to us, now that you know that, now that you've seen that, what are you going to do now? What will you do now because of that? Because the plan is the backup plan. That was the point the whole time. It's not about fixing the problems of the world, it's about transforming us. And if our lives are not different because of what happens today, then there is no plan. Imagine, in today's story, if those women hadn't gone to the tomb to bring spices to Jesus' body. What would have happened then? Imagine if they didn't tell anybody what they had seen and heard and just kept it to themselves. Imagine what if they told people and everyone thought that they were crazy. If Peter, lone Peter, didn't think maybe there's something to this. I better go find out. The good news might have stopped on that day. We are the backup plan. But don't panic. Don't worry. Don't think, oh my goodness, right? Because that's, I think, one of the crises of our times right now is that we are so aware, more aware than maybe we have ever been, of how many problems there are in the world, how much there is to do, how much suffering, how much injustice, and so many different answers and systems and politics about how to make it all better, and we just get completely overwhelmed to the point of apathy or paralysis. What shall we do? God, I don't think, is asking us for our 5-point plan. Easter, the Easter faith, resurrected life, is not an ideology. It's not an all-encompassing system of how to make things better. It does not map well onto political systems. And our history tells us that when we try to do that, we really screw it up. I think maybe we might overthink what the resurrected life is. And by we, I mean I overthink what the resurrected life is. What happens on Easter? Because today's story, this account in Luke of what happens after the resurrection, starts so much smaller and simpler and quieter and hidden. It starts with some basic practices, some basic things that we can change about our lives. I'm about to give you a 3-point plan. And I shouldn't do that because my preaching professor long ago told me never give a 3-point sermon because people will start counting down until the end of the sermon. But hey, it's been a long week. I'm going to do it anyway. So, reading this story today about what happened with these women, what these women did, how their lives changed right in front of us around the resurrection, I see 3 things that we might take away from it. First, act with compassion even if it's going to get you in trouble. Right? Jesus is public enemy number 1. He has been shamed. He has been executed by the state, condemned by religious authorities. There is no good reason to associate yourself with such a figure as this anymore. Everyone is saying, this is a bad guy. They go to the tomb anyway. They go to his body. They bring the spices. It's an act of courageous compassion. And it's that courageous compassion that propels them to the resurrection. That's what gets it all going. The compassion leads them to new life. Without that compassion, they would not be the first witnesses to the resurrection. So maybe not just compassionate even if you get in trouble, but maybe to act with compassion until you get in trouble. Number 2, it's counting down now. What do the angels say to the woman? Remember what he said. What will it look like for us to remember the story that we are really a part of, rather than the story that everyone else is telling? The story that everyone else was telling about Jesus is that he's a blasphemer, he's a terrorist, he's a revolutionary and a rebel, a criminal. And the story that the crucifixion tells is that such people must be punished. And only those who are punished are the ones who really deserve it. The angels tell the woman, remember that that is not the story that you are a part of. He told you from the very beginning that this would happen and that life would come on the other side of it. Remember that that is the real story. that it's not the final word of the state or the religious authorities, the word of condemnation and violence. The story ends in love and life. So maybe don't remember the story, even if it's not the story that you're officially getting. Remember that story until that story, too, gets you in trouble. Finally, number 3. The women go to the apostles, and all they do is tell them what they saw and tell them what they heard. No further commentary. They simply speak the truth. Speak the truth, even if some people think you're crazy. Speak the truth. Now, I gotta be careful here. I don't mean repeating conspiracy theories you hear online. Not that kind of crazy. I mean speaking authentically from what your life really has been, what you have seen, what you have heard, what you have felt, what is actually going on in your life. Wouldn't the world be so much a different place if we started there, testifying to the truth of our own lives rather than immediately going into the sphere of media and big ideas and repeating the opinions that we've heard others say? But starting with our own truth, not hiding behind ourselves because we think we'll be judged for it, out of fear that others will think that we are crazy for speaking from who we really are. So don't just speak even if somebody thinks you're crazy. Keep speaking truth until somebody thinks you're crazy. That might be the test that you've really finally gotten to what you got to say. And, coda, somebody also will hear your truth and think, there's something there. I better go find out more. Friends, that's the Easter story. It's not magic. It's not a military victory. It's not a big, happy ending. It's a small, simple, life-changing beginning. It's a new way of being in the world. It starts with the simplest changes, the simplest transformations in how we are in this creation that God has given us. Easter is not the end of the story. But let me give you the end of the JROTC story. So, my squad's walking down the trail ahead of where we were going. We go, I don't know, maybe a half mile at most. And because this is northern Georgia, not, Antarctica, there are houses not too far away. And so so we see some houses in the distance, and we see an elderly lady tending to her garden behind her house off the trail. And so we come up to her, and we say to her, "Excuse me, ma'am, do you know any streams where we might get some water around here?" Now, this lady tending to her garden was holding a hose as we spoke, and she kind of looked at us, looked at her hose, and like, I can give you some water. Come on by. I'm like, well, we've got like 40 ROTC kids. And she's like, oh, okay, good, fine, bring them all by. We'll fill you all up. Last thought, folks. When we make that decision, when we realize we are the backup plan, and we have to take that next step forward if the world is ever going to change, in that moment when we say, I will with God's help, it's precisely in that moment that we realize that there are others. There are so many others who are willing to do the same thing if we simply walk with them too, if we simply take that step out into that life and find each other there. So that with every act of courageous compassion, with every act of remembrance that our story can only end in love and life for all, with every act of courageously telling the truth, there is a new creation and a new earth, and we are the resurrected life. Amen.